The Ford Mustang. A name that stands tall as an immortal icon, one of the most recognizable and heavily modified lineages in automotive history. Since its debut in the mid-1960s, millions of Mustangs have rolled off assembly lines. It became a Hollywood star in blockbusters like Bullet and Gone in 60 Seconds, etching its silhouette permanently into global pop culture. But buried deep within the dusty pages of military and automotive history, there is one extraordinarily special Mustang that almost no one has ever heard of. This one-of-a-kind machine wielded a power that impacted the lives of tens of thousands of young American men, more than any other muscle car ever to roll out of Detroit. This was the 1970 Ford Mustang Boss 429 Lawman, a mind-numbing, 1,000-horsepower supercharged monster built under a top-secret commission by Ford and the United States military. During the absolute boiling point of the war in Vietnam, this automotive weapon toured active military bases across the Pacific Theater. It wasn't born to win trophies, nor to break track records. It was created for a much higher calling, to save the lives of young soldiers by speaking the only language they truly revered, the language of pure, unadulterated American horsepower. Welcome back to Maison Cars, the place where we unearth the craziest and most priceless untold stories of the automotive world. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our gripping documentary films. But right now, let's rewind the clock to 1970 and uncover exactly why a 1,000-horsepower car was deployed to a war zone. The absolute madness of the Lawman project would never have existed without the brilliant mind of one man, Eckstrand. In the drag racing world of that era, everyone knew Eckstrand by his nickname, the Lawman. But here's a fascinating twist. By day, he was a highly respected corporate lawyer for the Chrysler Corporation. By night, he was a notorious drag racer, dropping jaw-dropping quarter-mile times. Eckstrand was a speed fanatic, but he also had a strategic vision. He firmly believed in the global, hypnotic appeal of American motorsport culture. In 1966, he convinced Chrysler to sponsor the American Commando drag team, bringing straight-line racing culture directly to U.S. military bases in Europe to entertain the troops. By 1970, Ford Motor Company caught wind of the magic behind Eckstrand's unique marketing strategy. They immediately recruited him for a critical, life-or-death corporate mission, combating a staggering, red alert wave of domestic traffic fatalities back home. Did you know that in 1970, America was suffering over 50,000 road deaths annually? It was the golden era of street racing. Young soldiers returning from the high-stress, horrific environments of the battlefield came home with PTSD and a massive chunk of accumulated combat pay. They immediately marched into dealerships, bought ridiculously overpowered muscle cars, and had zero skills to control them. The tragic result? Horrific, fatal crashes right after they had just survived the bombs and bullets of war. Ford wanted to use the high-octane influence of the racing lawyer, Eckstrand, to teach advanced safe driving techniques to active-duty troops, right before they put down their rifles and returned to civilian life. Ford understood one thing perfectly. You cannot use a boring, sluggish family commuter car to grab the attention of battle-hardened soldiers living on the edge of life and death. If you want to teach them about safety, you have to make safety look cool, raw, and untamed. So, Ford commissioned 6 custom-built vehicles specifically for this tour. 5 of them were Mustang fastbacks packed with 428 Cobra Jet Phi 8Es, conservatively rated at 335 horsepower. But the crown jewel of the fleet, the 6th car, was what left the world in absolute terror. a Boss 429 Mustang. Featuring a massive engine block with gargantuan aluminum Hemi heads, a factory Boss 429 was already an incredibly rare, highly sought-after holy grail. But for the Lawman edition, Ford decided to throw the entire engineering kitchen sink right into the engine bay. They bolted a massive Roots-style supercharger directly onto the heavy-duty V8. The result? They created a fire-breathing monster, pushing out a mind-bending 1,000 horsepower. This demonic power generated a wave of torque so violent that Ford's factory 4-speed manual transmission literally shattered into pieces during testing. To keep the car running, engineers were forced to rip out the manual gearbox and swap in a custom-tuned, heavy-duty automatic transmission. This anomaly made the Lawman Mustang the only automatic Boss 429 ever built in Ford's history. Back in 1970, the cost to build this beast was $20,000, an astronomical figure, roughly equivalent to the price of a small house at the time. The Lawman Mustang fleet boarded cargo ships and headed straight into the Pacific Theater. Over 40,000 active troops across Vietnam, Japan, and various remote outposts witnessed Eckstrand's high-speed demonstrations and vital survival lessons firsthand. The project was a resounding success until, at its absolute peak, disaster struck. While unloading at a military port, a crane suffered a catastrophic cable failure. A multi-ton shipping container went into freefall, crushing the 1,000 horsepower Boss 429 into a twisted pile of scrap metal. The beating heart of the entire tour had been completely obliterated. Refusing to accept defeat, Eckstrand, Ford, and the United States Air Force launched an emergency rescue operation at the highest level of clearance. Working at breakneck speeds through the night, Ford scrambled to find another pristine Boss 429 straight out of Detroit. They immediately threw it into the chop shop, upgrading it to the exact same 1,000 horsepower supercharged spec as the lost car. The moment it was finished, the U.S. Air Force dispatched a massive military transport plane to escort this machine straight across the Pacific. This emergency replacement car was stamped with a highly unique, legendary factory VIN, XXX429. The tour resumed without missing a single beat. The XXX monster continued to roar, delivering priceless driving lessons to troops stationed in the war-torn region for the remainder of the 1970 deployment. When the mission finally concluded at the end of 1970, Ford and the military faced a grim logistical nightmare. Shipping these heavily modified, race-spec Mustangs back to the U.S. was deemed far too expensive, and federal laws prohibited Ford from selling these test vehicles to the public as new cars. A ruthless order was given. The 5 428 Cobra Jet Mustangs were to be destroyed on site. They were tragically crushed into cubes, much to the dismay of everyone involved. However, because the iconic XXX429 Halo car was simply too priceless, no one had the heart to send it to the crusher. It was secretly spared and carefully shipped back to America. In 1971, Ford sold the car to a local private racer in Detroit. To camouflage it for illegal street and drag racing throughout the 70s, the car was stripped of its supercharger, repainted a deep, menacing blue, and given a haunting new nickname, the Blue Devil. After passing through the hands of several collectors, as if guided by fate, the car miraculously found its way back to Eckstrand himself, before being purchased in 2003 by a massive name, WWE wrestling legend Bill Goldberg. Being a die-hard muscle car fanatic, Goldberg executed a historically flawless nut and bolt restoration. He brought the car back to its original glory: pristine white paint, twin gold stripes, and most importantly, that violent, 1,000 horsepower supercharged engine setup from its golden days. Today, this sole surviving Mustang Boss 429 Lawman stands tall as an eternal monument forged in steel and pure gasoline. It is a living testament to one of the most bizarre chapters in American military and muscle car history, an era where a 1,000 horsepower monster was born not to destroy, but to protect the lives of heroes returning from the fire. What do you think about the story of the XXX 429 Lawman Mustang? Was Ford's decision to use a 1,000 horsepower beast to teach traffic safety the craziest idea in automotive history? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button for Maison Cars. Share this video with your gearhead friends, and don't forget to subscribe so we can see you in our next thrilling documentary.